That morning at 9:47, my phone buzzed with a message from my husband. "Happy anniversary, babe. I'm stuck at work. Can't wait to celebrate tonight. Love you." I was standing in the back office of my restaurant when I glanced through the glass window toward the dining room and my heart stopped. He was sitting there just 2 tables away from my office. He was kissing a woman with long red hair like they had done it 100 times before. I stood up, ready to walk straight to their table. But before I could move, a stranger blocked my path and whispered, "Wait, I know something bigger hasn't even begun yet. I'm so grateful you stayed with me through this journey. If this story touched your heart, please let me know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Your city, your country? I'd love to connect with you." And a quick note, while this story contains fictional elements for educational purposes, the lessons about trust and resilience matter deeply. On the morning of February 14th, 2024, a gray Wednesday, that marked exactly 2 years since Jake Carson and I exchanged vows under the cherry blossom arbor at Powell Butte Nature Park. I arrived at Rose's Kitchen at 7:30 a.m., 2 hours before the restaurant officially opened. Determined to spend the day preparing a special anniversary menu that would remind my husband why he fell in love with me in the first place. The back office smelled of flour and cinnamon from yesterday's batch of churros, and through the window that separated my workspace from the dining room, I could see Carmen setting up tables for the lunch service, while the morning light filtered through the large front windows overlooking Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard. I had chosen saffron risotto with Oregon morels for tonight's celebration. Jake's favorite dish, the one I made for him on our first date 5 years ago, and I was halfway through prepping the mise en place when my phone buzzed against the flour-dusted counter at exactly 9:47 a.m. The screen lit up with a text message from my husband that read, "Happy anniversary, babe. I'm stuck at work. Can't wait to celebrate tonight. Love you." And for a moment, I felt that familiar flutter in my chest. That stupid, hopeful feeling that maybe we were going to be okay after all the tension and distance that had crept between us over the past few months. I was reaching for my phone to reply when something through the glass partition caught my attention. Movement in the dining room. A flash of navy blue fabric, a familiar posture that made my heart stutter before my brain could process what I was seeing. I looked up from my desk and through the window that separated my back office from the main dining area. I saw him sitting there at a corner table near the front window less than 30 feet away, maybe 2 tables from where I stood, frozen behind the glass. Jake was sitting in my restaurant in the dining room of Rose's Kitchen, the restaurant where I worked every single day, the place he claimed he was avoiding this morning because he was stuck at work. He wore the navy blue jacket I had bought him last Christmas, the one with the leather patches on the elbows that he said made him look distinguished. And he was leaning back in his chair with the casual confidence of someone who had no idea he was being watched. But he was not alone. And the woman sitting across from him, a woman with long red hair that fell in glossy waves past her shoulders, was leaning forward with her hand resting on his arm. And then she stood, walked around the table, draped her arms around his neck from behind, and kissed him. Not a friendly peck on the cheek, not a quick congratulations or a casual goodbye. A real kiss. A deep, lingering, I know every inch of you kind of kiss. The kind where she tilted her head and he reached up to cradle her face with one hand the way he used to touch me before we got married. My phone slipped from my hand and clattered against the wooden desk, the screen still glowing with Jake's text message about being stuck at work. And time seemed to collapse into a single, unbearable moment, as I stood frozen behind the glass partition, unable to reconcile the loving message on my screen with the betrayal unfolding just 2 tables away in my own dining room. My brain scrambled desperately for explanations. Maybe it was not actually Jake. Maybe I was hallucinating from exhaustion. Maybe this was some elaborate surprise, but I knew that jacket. I knew the way he sat with his shoulders slightly hunched forward when he was relaxed. I knew the way he touched someone's face when he kissed them, because he used to kiss me exactly like that. And there was absolutely no mistaking what I was witnessing. I was about to push open the glass door that separated my office from the dining room, about to storm across those 30 feet and confront both of them in front of every customer. My hand already reaching for the doorknob, and my vision narrowing to a single point of white-hot rage when a hand gently but firmly gripped my shoulder from behind. I spun around my heart, hammering, and found myself face to face with a woman I hadn't seen in nearly 4 years. Detective Sarah Morgan, my friend from Lincoln High School, dressed in plain clothes with a black leather jacket and her police badge discreetly clipped to her belt. Her dark eyes were steady and serious, and there was something in her expression, a mix of concern and professional authority, that made me freeze in place. "Wait," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper but carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "Don't go out there yet, Zoe. I know something bigger hasn't even begun yet. She kept her hand on my shoulder, anchoring me in place when every muscle in my body was screaming at me to run into that dining room and destroy everything. I stared at her. My vision blurred with tears I hadn't realized were streaming down my face, my entire body shaking. Sarah, what are you? How did you even… My voice came out as a choked whisper. I was having coffee at the counter, she said, nodding toward the bar near the front where a half-empty ceramic mug still sat beside an open newspaper. I come here sometimes on my days off. I saw him come in about 20 minutes ago. I saw her kiss him, and I saw your face through that window just now, and I knew exactly what you were about to do. She tightened her grip on my shoulder. Zoe, if you confront him right now, if you walk out there emotional and unprepared without any evidence, you'll tip him off. You'll lose any chance of finding out what he's really planning. Trust me, I've worked enough domestic cases to know that men who are bold enough to cheat in their wife's own restaurant are usually capable of much worse. I need to know what's happening, I whispered, my voice breaking. Sarah's expression softened slightly. Then go home, she said firmly. Go home right now while he thinks you're still here working. Look through his things, his office, his computer, his phone records if you can access them. Find the evidence. Document everything. Take photos, save emails, make copies, and then call me. She pulled a business card from her jacket pocket and pressed it into my trembling hand. But if you confront him now in public, emotional without proof, he'll deny it. He'll gaslight you. He'll make you look paranoid and unstable. He'll cover his tracks before you even know what you're looking for. Don't give him that power. I looked back through the glass partition and saw that Jake was already standing, pulling his wallet from his pocket and tossing a $20 bill onto the table. The red-haired woman had disappeared. Sarah was right. If I stormed out there now, I would get nothing but denials and excuses. But if I stayed quiet, if I went home and searched his office while he thought I was safely occupied here, I might find the truth. Okay, I whispered. Okay. Sarah squeezed my shoulder once more. Be smart, Zoe. Be strategic, and call me when you have something. The second Jake walked out the front door at 9:52 a.m., I grabbed my coat and keys, my hands shaking, and I didn't say goodbye to Carmen. I didn't turn off the burner. I didn't untie my apron as I stumbled out the back door into the cold February drizzle. The drive to our house on Northeast 47th Avenue should have taken 12 minutes, but I made it in 8. When I pulled into the driveway, Jake's car wasn't there. I unlocked the front door and stepped into the oppressive silence where everything looked normal. The wedding photos on the wall, the throw pillows on the sofa, the coffee mug in the sink, except nothing was normal anymore. I walked to Jake's home office and found the door half open. On his desk were papers, dozens of them. The top document was a petition for dissolution of marriage, Oregon Circuit Court, Multnomah County, listing Jake Michael Carson as petitioner and Zoe Maria Martinez as respondent, completely filled out with his signature in blue ink leaving, only my signature line empty. Beneath it was a business valuation report for Rose's Kitchen showing $2.8 million. I kept flipping. An email from Marcus Brennan, Director of Acquisitions at Cascade Dining Group, dated November 3, 2023. Jake, we're ready to close as soon as you secure the power of attorney. The $2.8 million offer stands. Make sure she's weak enough to sign before the deadline. Once the transfer is complete, we'll wire the funds to your offshore account. Another email dated February 11th confirmed the plan. The red-haired contact will help with the emotional angle. She's on board. At the bottom of the stack, a printed screenshot of text messages and the contact name made my vision narrow. Maya, my sister. The red-haired woman was my sister. February 14th, 2024. Wednesday, 2 p.m. Home office, Jake's desk. The house is too quiet. I've been sitting here for nearly 3 hours staring at those divorce papers, at the appraisal, at Marcus Brennan's emails, waiting for something inside me to make sense of this. Jake hasn't come home. His car isn't in the driveway. He's still out there with her, with Maya. And the longer I sit here, the more I realize I don't know my husband at all, or my sister. The text thread with Maya's name is still on the table, face up, accusing. I kept reading it over and over until the words blurred together, hoping I'd misread, hoping it was a different Maya, some stranger with the same name. But it wasn't. The area code is hers. The contact photo, though blurred, is her profile from 2 Christmases ago, the ugly sweater party we threw together. My little sister, the one I helped raise after Mom died. The one who used to sleep in my bed when thunderstorms scared her. That Maya. I need to know more. I need to know how deep this goes. I pushed myself up from the chair and walked to Jake's office. His laptop is still on the desk, closed the silver Apple logo, catching the gray afternoon light filtering through the blinds. I've never touched his laptop before. He always said it was for work, boring spreadsheets and construction contracts, nothing I'd care about. I believed him. I believed everything. My hands are steadier now than they were this morning. Anger does that, I guess. Burns away, the shock leaves something colder behind. I flip open the laptop. The screen blinks to life. Password prompt glowing. I type in the password I've seen him use 100 times for our Netflix account. Our bank login. Everything Rosa 2022. The year we got married. The year he promised to love and protect me. The screen unlocks. I'm in. The desktop is neat. Organized. A few folders labeled work, taxes, and personal. I click on the email icon. His inbox loads. Hundreds of messages. I scroll, scanning subject lines, looking for anything that stands out. Then I see it. Redeal finalization timeline from Marcus Brennan, Director of Acquisitions, Cascade Dining Group. I click. The email thread opens a chain of messages going back 4 months. October 10th, 2023. Jake, just confirming, once you have power of attorney over Rose's kitchen, we can close within 72 hours. The $2.8 million is ready to wire. Make sure she signs voluntarily. We don't want legal complications. November 3rd, 2023. Update timeline extended to 90 days. Make sure she's weak enough to sign before the deadline. Emotional strain, health issues, whatever it takes. The red-haired contact will help with the emotional angle. She's on board. The red-haired contact. I scroll faster, my pulse hammering in my ears. Another email dated January 22nd, 2024. Confirmed your contact M has agreed to the arrangement. She'll keep Zoe distracted and emotionally vulnerable. Once the POA is signed, you'll transfer the business to us. We'll wire the $2.8 million to your offshore account. Cayman Islands account number 847392. And you're free to start fresh with M in Seattle. Maya's table opens Q3 2024. Congrats, brother. Maya's table. I stopped breathing. They're naming a restaurant after her. My sister. The restaurant Jake promised me we'd open together someday. The one we talked about on our honeymoon. The one I sketched floor plans for in the margins of my recipe notebooks. He's giving it to her. He's giving everything to her. I click on another folder. Personal. Inside, there's a subfolder labeled M. I open it. Photos, dozens of them. Jake and Maya at Pike Place Market in Seattle. At Cannon Beach, the same spot where Jake proposed to me 3 years ago. At a hotel bar, her hand on his chest, his lips on her neck. The timestamps go back 18 months. 18 months. They've been doing this for 1.5 years. I feel like I'm drowning. I open the Messages app. The thread with Maya's contact is right there. Unread messages going back weeks. I scroll to the most recent exchange. February 13th, 2024. Yesterday, 1:14, 7 p.m. Maya. Tomorrow's your anniversary with her, right? Are you really going through with it, Jake? Relax, babe. I'll text her something sweet in the morning. Keep her calm. By this time next year, this will all be over. You and me, Maya's table, and a baby. That's the plan. Maya, I want a baby with you, Jake. Soon. Promise me. Jake, I promise, baby. Soon. I slam the laptop shut so hard the desk rattles. My hands are shaking again, but not from shock this time. From rage. From betrayal so deep it feels like my ribs are cracking open. Maya wants a baby with him. My sister wants to have my husband's child. She wants the life I thought I had. And Jake has been playing us both, promising me forever while stealing my family's legacy. Promising her a future while lying about everything. But there's something else. Something in Marcus Brennan's email that I can't stop thinking about. Make sure she's weak enough to sign before the deadline. Emotional strain, health issues, whatever it takes. Health issues. I've been sick for months now, since November. The nausea, the exhaustion, the stomach cramps that come in waves every morning. I thought it was stress. I thought it was burnout from running the restaurant. But what if it wasn't? What if Jake has been doing something to me? My stomach twists. I run to the bathroom and barely make it to the toilet before I throw up bile burning my throat. When I finally sit back gasping, my vision blurry with tears, I see it on the counter. Jake's travel bag unzipped. Inside, tucked between his razor and deodorant, is a small brown bottle. I pick it up, hands trembling. The label reads Ipecac syrup. IPPC, for inducing vomiting in cases of poisoning. Expiration date, March 2025. The bottle is half empty. I stare at it, my mind racing. Ipecac. That's what's been making me sick. Jake has been poisoning me. Not enough to kill me, just enough to weaken me. Just enough to make me desperate, exhausted, willing to sign anything to make it stop. Make sure she's weak enough to sign. Oh, my God. I stumble back to the office, the bottle still clutched in my hand, and I open the laptop again. This time I search his browser history. I find it. Searches from 3 months ago. How to induce nausea without detection. Power of attorney requirements, Oregon. Can you contest a business sale if signed under duress? He planned this. He planned all of this. And Maya, my sister, my blood, she helped him. I don't know how long I sit there staring at the screen, the pieces clicking into place like shards of broken glass cutting deeper and deeper. But when I finally close the laptop, when I finally stand up and walk to the window and see the rain streaking down the glass like tears, I'm not crying anymore. I'm not shaking. I'm cold, clear, focused. Jake and Maya think they're going to take everything from me. But they're wrong. Because now I know. And knowledge, as Abuela Rosa used to say, is the sharpest knife in the kitchen. I just need to figure out how to use it. But first I need to know exactly what Jake's been putting in my coffee every morning. And I need proof. February 15th, 2024. Thursday 6:30 a.m. Kitchen our house. I didn't sleep last night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that brown bottle. Ipecac syrup. For inducing vomiting half empty. I lay there in the dark listening to Jake's breathing beside me, wondering how many mornings he'd stood in this kitchen, smiling at me while he poisoned my coffee. He came home late last night after 11. I heard his keys in the door, his footsteps on the stairs, the creak of the bedroom floor as he undressed in the dark. I kept my eyes shut, my breathing slow and steady, pretending to be asleep. He slid into bed beside me like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just spent the day with my sister, like he wasn't planning to steal everything I have. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab that bottle and throw it in his face and demand answers. But I didn't, because if I want to stop him, I need to be smarter than he is. I need proof. So this morning when the alarm goes off at 6:30, I get up. I go through the motions. I brush my teeth. I pull my hair into a ponytail. I put on the same worn Portland Trail Blazers hoodie I wear every morning. I walk into the kitchen like it's any other Thursday. Jake's already there, standing at the counter in his gray t-shirt and sweatpants, the coffee maker hissing and spitting steam. He turns when he hears me and he smiles. That same easy, warm smile I fell in love with 5 years ago. "Morning, babe," he says, like he didn't just spend yesterday planning my destruction. "Morning," I say, my voice steady. I lean against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching him. He reaches for the 2 ceramic mugs on the counter, the ones we got at that farmer's market in Hood River, the ones with the little painted strawberries on the sides. He pours coffee into both. Steam rises in lazy curls. Then he turns toward the fridge, pulling out the almond milk I like, but as he does, his other hand slips into the pocket of his sweatpants. Just for a second, just long enough to pull out something small. A vile brown glass, the same bottle I found yesterday. My stomach clenches, but I don't move. I don't let my face change. I just watch. He unscrews the cap with one hand, tilting it over my mug. A few drops clear liquid disappearing into the dark coffee. Then he screws the cap back on, slips the bottle into his pocket, and turns around, reaching for the almond milk again like nothing happened. The whole thing takes maybe 5 seconds. If I hadn't been watching, I would have missed it. He stirs both mugs with a spoon, the metal clinking softly against ceramic. And then he walks over to me, holding out my mug with that same smile. "Here you go, babe. Extra almond milk, just how you like it." I take the mug from him, my fingers brushing his. My hands don't shake. I don't let them. "Thanks," I say. I bring the mug to my lips, pretending to take a sip. The smell hits me first. Coffee bitter and sharp, but underneath it something else. Something chemical. Something wrong. I let the liquid touch my lips just barely. Then lower the mug. Perfect, I lie. Jake leans against the counter, sipping his own coffee, scrolling through his phone, probably texting Maya, probably planning their next move. I watch him over the rim of my mug, pretending to drink, and I feel something harden inside me. This man I married, this man I trusted with everything, has been poisoning me every morning for 3 months. I think back to November. That's when it started. The nausea, the exhaustion, the stomach cramps that would hit me out of nowhere. So bad I'd have to sit down in the middle of service at the restaurant, bent over trying not to throw up in front of the customers. I thought I was sick. I thought it was stress, or maybe an ulcer or food poisoning that just wouldn't quit. I went to the doctor twice. They ran tests, found nothing. Probably anxiety, they said. Try to relax. And the whole time it was Jake, slowly, carefully, methodically making me sick weak enough to sign. You okay? Jake's voice pulls me back. He's looking at me now, his head tilted, concern in his eyes. Fake concern. You look tired. I'm fine, I say. Just didn't sleep well. You've been saying that a lot lately, he says, setting down his mug. He steps closer, reaching out to brush a strand of hair behind my ear. His touch makes my skin crawl. Maybe you should take a day off. Let Carmen handle the restaurant. You need rest. Rest so I'll be weaker. So I'll be easier to control. Maybe, I say, forcing a smile. I'll think about it. He kisses my forehead. Soft, gentle, the same way he kissed me on our wedding day. I love you, Zoe, he says. And for a split second, I almost believe him. Almost. Then he grabs his keys off the counter and heads toward the door. I've got an early meeting. I'll see you tonight. Okay. Okay, I say. The door closes behind him. I wait until I hear his car pull out of the driveway. Then I move. I grab a small glass jar from the cabinet, one of the ones I use for storing spices, and I pour the rest of my coffee into it. Every last drop. I screw the lid on tight, wipe the outside clean, and tuck it into my purse. Then I dump the rest of Jake's coffee down the sink, rinse both mugs, and put them in the dishwasher. I stand there for a moment, gripping the edge of the counter, breathing hard. My hands are shaking now. Not from fear, from rage. 3 months. He's been doing this for 3 months. And I didn't know. I didn't see it. But I see it now. And I'm going to prove it. I grab my phone and search for medical labs near me. Providence Medical Lab. 4.7 stars. Open at 8. I can be there in 20 minutes. I type out a text to Carmen. Can you open the restaurant today? I have a doctor's appointment. I'll be in by noon. She replies immediately. Of course, hun. Everything okay? I stare at the message. No, nothing is okay, but it will be. Yeah, I type back. Just a checkup. I slip my phone into my pocket, grab my purse with the coffee sample inside, and head for the door. If Jake's been poisoning me, I need to know exactly what he's been using. And I need proof. Legal proof. The kind that'll hold up in court. Because this isn't just about me anymore. This is about Rose's kitchen, about my grandmother's legacy, about everything Jake and Maya are trying to steal. And I'm not going to let them. It's Friday morning, February 16th, just past 1015, when I pull into the parking lot of Providence Medical Lab on Northeast Gleason Street in Portland. I've been sitting in my car for 5 minutes now, engine off hands, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the glass doors of the clinic like they might swallow me whole. In my purse, tucked inside a brown paper bag, is the glass jar with yesterday's coffee. The coffee Jake made me. The coffee I watched him poison. I told Carmen I needed to run a quick errand before coming into the restaurant. Something about checking inventory at a supplier across town. She didn't ask questions. Carmen never does. She just said, "Take your time, hun," and I loved her for it. I didn't sleep again last night. I lay in bed next to Jake, listening to him breathe, wondering how someone could sleep so peacefully after doing what he's done. After plotting with my sister to destroy me. After spending 3 months slowly poisoning me every single morning. This morning he made coffee again. Same routine, same smile, same kiss on the forehead before he left for his meeting. I didn't drink it. I poured it down the sink the second he walked out the door. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel nauseous by 900 a.m. No cramps, no dizziness, nothing. That's when I knew for sure. It's the coffee. It's always been the coffee. I grab my purse, take a deep breath, and push open the car door. The air outside is cold and damp. Typical February, in Portland. The kind of weather that seeps into your bones. I walk across the parking lot through the automatic glass doors and into the waiting room. It's clean, sterile, the smell of antiseptic and lavender air freshener mixing in a way that makes my stomach turn. A receptionist behind a plexiglass window looks up from her computer and smiles. Good morning. How can I help you? I need to see someone about a toxicology test. I say, keeping my voice steady for a beverage sample. Her smile falters just a little. 1 moment, please. She picks up the phone, murmurs something I can't hear, and then nods. Doctor, Bennett will be with you shortly. Please have a seat. I sit in one of the plastic chairs near the window, my purse clutched in my lap, the jar inside, feeling heavier than it should. Around me, other patients wait quietly. An older man with a cane. A young woman scrolling through her phone. A mother with a fussy toddler. Normal people doing normal things. I wonder if any of them are here because their husband is trying to kill them. Probably not. After what feels like an eternity but is probably only 10 minutes, a door opens and a woman in a white coat steps out. She's maybe early 40s, dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, warm brown eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Zoe Martinez," she calls. I stand. "That's me." "I'm Dr. Rachel Bennett," she says, extending her hand. Her grip is firm, professional. "Come on back." I follow her down a narrow hallway, into a small exam room. She gestures to a chair and I sit. She closes the door and takes a seat across from me, folding her hands on the desk between us. So she says gently, "The receptionist mentioned you'd like a toxicology screening on a beverage. Can you tell me a little more about that?" I reach into my purse and pull out the jar, setting it on the desk between us. The coffee inside has settled a thin film on the surface, dark and murky. "I need to know if there's anything in this," I say. "Anything that shouldn't be there. Poison, drugs, chemicals, anything." Dr. Bennett picks up the jar, holding it up to the light, examining it. "And where did this come from?" I hesitate. "My husband made it for me yesterday morning." Her eyes flick to mine. There's a pause, heavy and loaded. "And you're concerned because I've been sick," I say, the words coming out faster now. "For 3 months. Nausea, vomiting, exhaustion, stomach cramps. My regular doctor ran tests. They found nothing. But yesterday, I didn't drink the coffee my husband made me, and today I feel fine. No symptoms, nothing." Dr. Bennett sets the jar down carefully. Her expression is calm, but I can see the concern in her eyes. "Zoe, I have to ask, do you feel safe at home?" The question hangs in the air between us. "Not anymore," I admit. "But I can't do anything until I have proof. Legal proof. That's why I'm here." She nods slowly, her gaze steady on mine. "Okay, I understand. We can run a comprehensive toxicology panel on this sample. It'll screen for common poisons, prescription drugs, over-the-counter medications, and a range of chemical substances." "How long will it take?" 72 hours, she says. "We'll call you as soon as the results are in. And it'll hold up in court if I need it to. If you're planning to pursue legal action, yes. Our lab is CLIA certified. The results are admissible in court." She pauses. "But Zoe, if you're in immediate danger..." "I'm not," I say quickly. "Not yet. He doesn't know I know, and I need to keep it that way until I have everything I need to stop him." "Doctor." Bennett studies me for a long moment, then nods. "All right. The test will cost $127.50. We can bill your insurance if..." "No," I say, pulling out my wallet. I find the old credit card, the one that belonged to my mother before she died, the one I kept for emergencies. "I'll pay cash. Or this card. Just don't put it through insurance." She doesn't ask why. She just takes the card, processes the payment, and hands me a receipt. "We'll call you Monday afternoon," she says. "If you need anything before then, if you feel unsafe, please call 911. Or call me." She hands me her business card. I take it, slipping it into my purse along with the receipt. "Thank you," I say, and I mean it. She walks me back to the waiting room, her hand resting briefly on my shoulder. "Take care of yourself, Zoe." I walk out of the clinic and back to my car, the cold air biting at my face. I sit behind the wheel for a moment, breathing hard, my hands shaking. Now that it's over. 72 hours. 3 days. By Monday, I'll know for sure what Jake's been putting in my coffee. And once I have that proof, I can start planning my next move. I start the car and pull out of the parking lot, heading toward Rose's kitchen. As I drive, I realize something. I feel better today. Clearer, sharper. My stomach isn't churning. My head isn't pounding. For the first time in months, I feel like myself again. And that scares me almost as much as the poison, because it means Jake was winning. He was breaking me down piece by piece, and I didn't even see it. But I see it now. 72 hours. Just 72 more hours, and I'll know if my husband has been poisoning me. And then I'll know exactly what I need to do to stop him. It's Monday afternoon, February 19th, 2024, and I'm in the kitchen at Rose's kitchen, prepping mise en place for the dinner rush, when my phone buzzes in my apron pocket. I wipe my hands on a towel and pull it out. Unknown number, Portland area code. My chest tightens. I step into the back office and answer. "Hello, Zoe. It's Dr. Rachel Bennett, from Providence Medical Lab. Her voice is calm but edged with something I can't quite place. Urgency, maybe, or concern. Can you come to the clinic right away? I have your results, and I think we need to discuss them in person. My stomach drops. Did you find something? Yes, she says quietly. And I think you'll want to see this as soon as possible. I tell Carmen I need to step out for an hour, grab my coat and keys, and I'm in my car before I can think twice. The drive to the clinic takes 12 minutes, but it feels like 12 hours. My hands are steady on the wheel, but my mind is racing. They found something. They found proof. By the time I pull into the parking lot, my heart is hammering so hard I can feel it in my throat. Dr. Bennett is waiting for me in the same exam room as before. She stands when I walk and gestures to the chair, and closes the door behind me. On the desk between us is a manila folder. She sits, opens it, and slides a printed lab report across to me. Zoe, she says gently, the results came back this morning. I wanted to call you right away, but I needed to double-check with the lab first because this is serious. I stare down at the report. The page is dense with technical jargon rows of chemical names and concentration levels, but one line near the top is highlighted in yellow. Ipecac syrup detected 15 milliliters per 250 milliliters sample. My vision blurs for a second. I blink hard, forcing myself to focus. Ipecac, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. That's the stuff that makes you throw up, right? Yes, Dr. Bennett says. It's a syrup used to induce vomiting in cases of poisoning. It used to be common in first aid kits, but it's not recommended anymore because it can be dangerous if misused. At this concentration, 15 milliliters in a standard cup of coffee, it wouldn't kill you outright, but it would cause chronic nausea, vomiting, fatigue, abdominal pain, and general weakness over time. I look up at her. For how long? If administered daily over several months, it could have severe cumulative effects. Dehydration, electrolyte imbalance, muscle weakness, even damage to the gastrointestinal lining. She pauses. Zoe, someone has been poisoning you deliberately. And based on what you've told me, it's been going on for at least 3 months. The room tilts. I grip the edge of the desk, forcing myself to stay present. 3 months. November. That's when it started. The nausea, the exhaustion, the cramps. I thought I was sick. I thought I was stressed. I thought it was my fault. But it was Jake. Every single morning for 3 months, he smiled at me, kissed me, handed me a cup of coffee, and poisoned me. Zoe, Dr. Bennett says, leaning forward, her voice firm but kind. You need to go to the police right now. This is a crime. Whoever did this to you is committing assault, possibly attempted murder, depending on the circumstances. You need protection. I shake my head slowly. I can't. Why not? Because I need more than this, I say, tapping the report. I need more evidence. I need to know exactly what he's planning. If I go to the police now, he'll just deny it. He'll say I'm making it up or that I put the ipecac in the coffee myself to frame him. He's smart. He's got money. He's got lawyers. And he's already planning to take everything from me. Dr. Bennett's face hardens. Zoe, if he's poisoning you, he could escalate. You're in danger. I know, I say quietly, but I'm not drinking his coffee anymore. I stopped 4 days ago. He doesn't know I know, and I need to keep it that way until I have everything I need to stop him for good. She studies me for a long moment, then nods slowly. All right, but promise me if you feel unsafe, if anything changes, you call 911. Or you call me. She pulls out a business card and writes a second number on the back. That's my personal cell, day or night. I take the card, fold the lab report carefully, and tuck both into my purse. Thank you, Dr. Bennett, for everything. She walks me to the door, her hand resting briefly on my shoulder. Be careful, Zoe. I walk back to my car, the lab report heavy in my bag. Proof of what Jake has done to me. Proof that he's been systematically breaking me down, making me weak, making me desperate. Also, I'd sign over Rose's kitchen without a fight. Make sure she's weak enough to sign. That's what Marcus Brennan's email said. And Jake followed through. He poisoned me. Every morning for 3 months, he looked me in the eye and poisoned me. I sit in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, staring at nothing. The anger I've been carrying for the last 5 days crystallizes into something sharper, something colder. Jake thinks he's winning. He thinks he's broken me. But he's wrong because now I have proof. Legal, documented, lab-certified proof. And that changes everything. I start the car and pull out of the parking lot, my mind already moving to the next step. Jake doesn't just want Rose's kitchen. He wants me gone. And Maya, my own sister, is helping him. But they made a mistake. They underestimated me. They thought I'd be too weak, too sick, too broken to fight back. They didn't count on me finding that bottle. They didn't count on me testing the coffee. And they sure as hell didn't count on me having a backup plan. Because I do. I've always had one. My grandmother made sure of that. Abuela Rosa didn't just leave me the restaurant. She left me something else. Something Jake and Maya and Marcus Brennan don't know about. Something I haven't touched in 5 years, not since the day I inherited it. But now I think it's time to use it. Jake wanted to weaken me. He wanted to destroy me. But he doesn't know I've just found my weapon. And by the time he realizes what's happening, it'll be too late. It's Tuesday evening, February 20th, just past 7, and I'm standing in the doorway of Abuela Rosa's old bedroom, the room that used to be hers before she died 5 years ago. The room I've barely touched since. The house is quiet. Jake texted an hour ago to say he's working late, which means he's probably with Maya. I don't care anymore. Let him dig his own grave. I came here tonight because I needed to be somewhere that felt safe, somewhere that felt like her. The room still smells faintly of her perfume Chanel. Number 5. The only luxury she ever allowed herself. The walls are still lined with old photographs. Rose's kitchen in its early days, a tiny storefront on Division Street. Abuela in her apron, flower on her cheeks, smiling at the camera. Me as a little girl standing on a step stool beside her, learning how to knead dough. I miss her. God, I miss her. She would know what to do. She always knew. I walked to the old wooden dresser in the corner, the one she bought at a garage sale in 1979, and refinished herself. On top of it, in a place of honor, is her recipe book, not the typed printed cookbook she sold at the restaurant. This one is older, more sacred. A leather-bound journal 45 years old, the cover worn soft and brown from decades of use. Every recipe she ever perfected is in here, handwritten in her careful slanted script. Mole negro tamales de rajas, pozole rojo. I've looked through this book 100 times since she died, but I've never been able to bring myself to cook from it. It feels too much like losing her all over again. Tonight, though, I reach for it. I don't know why. Maybe because I need to feel close to her. Maybe because I need to remember that I come from someone strong. I lift the book carefully, cradling it in both hands, and sit down on the edge of the bed. The leather cover is cracked along the spine, the stitching frayed. As I turn it over in my hands, a corner of the front cover catches on my sleeve and I hear a soft tearing sound. My heart jumps. No, no, no. I look closer. The leather along the inside edge of the cover has peeled away slightly, revealing something underneath. Not the cardboard backing I expected. Paper. I set the book down on my lap and carefully peel back the damaged leather. Beneath it, tucked into a hidden pocket between the cover and the spine, are 3 folded pieces of paper. My hands are shaking as I pull them out. The first is a letter handwritten in blue ink. Abuela's handwriting. I unfold it carefully, smoothing the creases and start to read. My dearest granddaughter Zoe. If you are reading this, it means I am gone. And it means someone has betrayed you. I always knew this day might come. Your grandfather and I built Rose's kitchen with our hands, our sweat, our love. But we also built it with sacrifice. And I know that sacrifice makes people jealous, greedy, dangerous. So, I made a plan. A plan to protect you, even after I am no longer here to do it myself. There is a trust fund, Minita, $850,000. It is held at Wells Fargo Bank under my name, managed by my attorney Benjamin Hartley. He's been my friend for 40 years, and I trust him with my life. With your life. The fund was created with one condition. It can only be accessed if there is proof that someone is trying to steal Rose's kitchen from you. If you have found this letter, I believe you have that proof. Call Benjamin. Show him what you have found. He will help you activate the trust. Use the money to protect yourself, to protect the restaurant, to fight back. This is your weapon, Zoe. Use it wisely. I love you, mi nieta. Always and forever. Abuela Rosa. The letter blurs in front of me. I'm crying, tears spilling hot and fast down my cheeks, and I don't try to stop them. She knew. She knew this could happen. She knew I might need help, and she made sure I'd have it. Even from beyond the grave, she's still protecting me. I wipe my eyes and unfold the second piece of paper. It's a certificate from Wells Fargo Bank, dated January 201510 years ago. Rosa Martinez Family Trust Fund. Principal amount $850,000. The third paper is a business card. Benjamin Hartley, attorney at law. Hartley and Associates. A phone number is printed beneath his name. I sit there for a long time holding the letter in one hand and the certificate in the other, the book still open on my lap. $850,000. That's more than enough to hire the best lawyers in Portland. More than enough to fight Jake and Marcus Brennan in court. More than enough to protect Rose's kitchen and everything Abuela built. But more than that, it's proof that she believed in me, that she trusted me to carry on her legacy, that she knew I'd fight. I fold the letter carefully and tuck it back into the book, along with the certificate and the business card. Then I walk to the window and look out at the street below. The streetlights are just starting to flicker on, casting long shadows across the pavement. Somewhere out there Jake is with Maya, thinking he's won, thinking I'm too weak, too broken, too scared to stop him. But he's wrong. Abuela gave me the weapon. Now I just need to learn how to use it. Tomorrow I'll call Benjamin Hartley. I'll show him the lab report, the emails, the divorce papers. I'll show him everything. And then I'll activate the trust, and then I'll start fighting back. It's Wednesday afternoon, February 21st, just past 3:00, when I step through the glass doors of Hartley and Associates on 3rd Avenue in downtown Portland. The building is old, pre-war brick, with high ceilings and crown molding, the kind of place that smells like polished wood and old law books. A silver-haired receptionist looks up and smiles. "You must be Zoe Martinez. Mr. Hartley is expecting you." She leads me down a narrow hallway lined with framed diplomas and black and white photographs of Portland from decades ago. My heart is pounding. I called this morning, barely able to get the words out. My name is Zoe Martinez. My grandmother was Rosa Martinez. I need to see Benjamin Hartley. It's urgent. Within 30 seconds, they'd booked me for 3:00 p.m. Now here I am, clutching my purse with Abuela's letter, the lab report, the emails, the divorce papers, everything folded carefully inside a manila envelope. The receptionist stops at a wooden door with a brass nameplate. "Benjamin Hartley SQ." She knocks once, then opens it. "Zoe Martinez is here." "Send her in," a voice says from inside. Warm, steady. I step into the office and he's already standing, coming around from behind his desk. Benjamin Hartley is exactly as I imagined. Mid, 60s, silver hair combed neatly back, wire-rimmed gold glasses, a tailored gray suit that's seen better days, but still fits him with dignity. He extends his hand. "Zoe," he says, and there's something in the way he says my name, like he's known me my whole life, that makes my throat tighten. "Please sit down." I sink into one of the leather chairs, and he sits across from me, folding his hands on the desk. For a moment he just looks at me, his expression soft, sad. "You look just like her," he says quietly. "Rosa. Same eyes. Same fire." I blink hard, willing myself not to cry. "Not yet. You knew her well." "For 40 years, he says. "She came to me in 1984 when she was opening Rose's kitchen. We became friends. She was one of the strongest women I've ever known. She told me about you all the time, how proud she was." My chest aches. "She told you about the trust fund." "She did," he says, his expression turning serious. 10 years ago. She set it up with money she'd saved over 30 years. $850,000. She made me promise not to tell anyone, not even you, unless someone tried to take Rose's kitchen from you. I nod slowly. "Someone is." I pull the manila envelope from my purse and set it on the desk. Benjamin opens it carefully, pulling out each document. First, Abuela's letter. He reads it slowly, and I see his jaw tighten. Then the lab report from Providence Medical Lab. His eyes widen when he sees the word Ipecac. Then the divorce papers with Jake's signature. Then the printed emails from Marcus Brennan. He reads every line, his face growing darker with each page. When he's finished, he sets the papers down and looks at me. "Zoe," he says, his voice steady but edged with anger. "This is not just fraud. This is attempted murder." "I know," I say quietly. "That's why I'm here. I need help." Benjamin leans forward. "You have me. And you have Rosa, even now. She knew someone might come after you after the restaurant. That's why she created the trust with that condition. It can only be activated if there's proof someone is trying to steal Rose's kitchen." He taps the documents. "And this is proof. Clear, documented, undeniable proof. Relief floods through me. So I can access the money." "Yes," he says. "But we need to act fast. I'm going to file an emergency petition with the Multnomah County Court today. We'll request 3 things. First, a temporary restraining order to freeze all marital assets, including Rose's kitchen. That'll prevent Jake from selling or transferring ownership. Second, immediate activation of the trust fund, so you have financial resources. And third, an investigation into Jake Carson's fraudulent activities, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud, and poisoning. My heart is racing. How long will that take? For an emergency petition like this, with evidence this strong, the court can rule within 48 hours. If the judge grants it, Jake won't be able to touch Rose's kitchen and you'll have full access to the $850,000. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. And the poisoning Benjamin's expression darkens. That's a criminal matter. The court can order an investigation, but you'll need to work with the police. Do you have a contact there? I think of Sarah? Detective Sarah Morgan, my friend from high school. I haven't called her yet, but maybe it's time. I do, I say. Benjamin nods. Good. Because once we file this petition, Jake is going to know something's wrong. He's going to panic. And panicked people do dangerous things. You need someone watching your back. I will, I say. He stands and I stand with him. He walks around the desk and places a hand on my shoulder the same way Abuela used to. Rosa loved you more than anything, Zoe. She would be so proud of you right now. My eyes burn with tears, but I let them fall. I miss her so much. I know, he says gently. But she's still here. In you. In Rose's kitchen. In the fight, you're about to win. I leave his office an hour later with a copy of the emergency petition in my purse and a court date set for Friday morning, February 23rd. As I walk to my car, the late afternoon sun breaking through the Portland clouds, I feel something I haven't felt in weeks. Hope. Abuela protected me even after she died. She gave me the weapon I needed. And now with Benjamin's help, I'm going to use it. But Jake is still out there, still plotting, still dangerous. I need someone who can help me catch him in the act. Someone who can make sure he goes to prison for what he's done. I pull out my phone and scroll through my contacts until I find the name. Sarah Morgan. I haven't talked to her in months, but if there's anyone who can help me now, it's her. I hit call. It's Saturday morning, February 24th, just past 11, when I slide into the corner booth at Stumptown Coffee Roasters on Southeast Division Street, ordering black coffee with no cream and no sugar. 10 days have passed since Detective Sarah Morgan stopped me from confronting Jake and my sister in my own restaurant. And now I'm here because I finally have concrete evidence to show her. Yesterday, the court granted Benjamin Hartley's emergency petition. Jake can't touch Rose's kitchen anymore. The restraining order is in place, and the trust fund Abuela left me is activated. But a restraining order isn't enough. I need Jake in prison. That's why I called Sarah last night. Sarah walks through the door at 1115, dressed in jeans and a black leather jacket, her badge clipped to her belt, and she moves through the crowded coffee shop with the same alert posture she had 10 days ago. She spots me immediately and slides into the booth across from me. Zoe, she says quietly. How are you holding up? I meet her eyes. I'm holding up because you stopped me that day. If you hadn't been there, I would have blown everything. Thank you, Sarah. She nods. I'm glad I was there. So what did you find? I pull out a thick manila folder and slide it across the table. I found a lot more than an affair. Jake has been systematically poisoning me for 3 months, conspiring with a business developer named Marcus Brennan to steal my restaurant through fraud and planning something worse. Sarah's expression shifts to professional focus as she opens the folder. I watch her eyes widen at the toxicology report from Providence Medical Lab. Her jaw tighten at the emails between Jake and Marcus, her face darken with each page. The first document is the lab report dated February 19th, showing the coffee sample contained 15 milliliters of ipecac syrup per 250 milliliters, enough to cause chronic nausea, vomiting, dehydration, and severe weakness. Jesus, Sarah mutters. He's been poisoning you for how long? 3 months. November through February. Every morning he made me coffee and put ipecac in it. I thought I was sick. Doctors found nothing. The whole time it was Jake weakening me, so I'd be too exhausted to fight when he tried to steal the restaurant. Sarah flips to the email chain between Jake and Marcus spanning October through January, reading the phrases burned into my memory. Make sure she's weak enough to sign before the deadline. The ipecac is working. She's losing weight and barely has energy. Once the POA is signed, we'll wire the $2.8 million to your offshore account. She sets the papers down and looks at me with fury. This is attempted murder. Poisoning someone to coerce them is aggravated assault at minimum. We could be looking at attempted homicide. She taps Marcus's email. and Marcus Brennan is going down as an accessory. Conspiracy, financial exploitation. Serious prison time. There's more, I say, pulling out the divorce petition, the business valuation showing $2. $8 million, and the photographs from the private investigator showing Jake and Maya at the Marriott at restaurants at Cannon Beach. Sarah goes through everything methodically, taking notes, and when she finishes, she exhales slowly. This is one of the most documented cases of domestic abuse and fraud I've seen in 10 years. Toxicology evidence, emails, financial records, forged documents, photographs. Do you want me to arrest Jake right now? I shake my head. Benjamin said the evidence is strong but circumstantial. The lab proves ipecac was in the coffee, not that Jake put it there. The emails prove Marcus wanted to buy the restaurant, not that Jake was actively coercing me. If we arrest him now, his lawyer will argue reasonable doubt. I lean forward. I need direct evidence. Video of Jake poisoning my coffee, audio of him admitting it or catching him committing a new crime, something with no room for interpretation. Sarah nods. We set a trap. Install hidden cameras in your house kitchen anywhere he prepares food. Oregon is one-party consent, so you can legally record conversations without telling him. And you can record what happens in your home since it's marital property. Get him talking. Ask careful questions that make him feel safe, and get him to admit what he's been doing. She flips through the papers. What about Marcus and your sister? My jaw tightens. Follow them. Document their meetings. If I catch Jake, Marcus, and Maya together discussing the plan, that's conspiracy. 3 people coordinating fraud. That's a slam dunk, right? Sarah squeezes my hand, her expression fierce. We're going to get him, Zoe. I promise. But be smart and patient. If Jake finds out you're onto him before we have airtight evidence, he could escalate. Poisoning you was already dangerous. If he panics, he might do something worse. She pulls out a business card and writes a second number on the back. That's my personal cell. If anything happens, if you feel unsafe, if Jake threatens you, or anything goes wrong, call 911 first. Then call me immediately, day or night. Understood. I take the card and nod. Understood. Thank you, Sarah. She gives me a small smile. You're stronger than you think, but I'm glad I can help. She stands, gathering the folder. I'm going to run background checks on Marcus Brennan and look into his financial connections with Jake. You buy cameras, set them up, and document everything. We're building a case. When we're done, Jake Carson is going to spend a very long time in prison. I watch her walk out, and for the first time since my world fell apart, I feel something that almost resembles hope. It's Wednesday night, February 28th, 9:45, and I'm sitting cross-legged on my bed with my laptop open, headphones in, watching footage from the hidden camera I installed 4 days ago. The camera is tiny, smaller than a lipstick tube tucked inside a picture frame on Jake's desk, a photo of us on our wedding day, smiling like we meant forever. I bought it on Amazon for $89, 2-day shipping. It records video and audio, saves everything to a cloud account Jake doesn't know exists. Sarah told me to document everything, so that's what I'm doing. I've been reviewing footage every night after Jake goes to bed, fast-forwarding through hours of him typing emails, scrolling through his phone, making calls. Most of it is useless. But tonight, I find something. The timestamp on the video reads, February 27th, 2:024247 p.m., yesterday afternoon. I was at Rose's kitchen prepping for the dinner service. Jake is alone in his office, sitting at his desk, phone pressed to his ear. I turn up the volume. His voice comes through clearly. Rick, it's Jake Carson. We met last month at the contractor meetup in Beaverton. A pause. A man's voice on the other end, muffled but audible. Yeah, I remember. What's up? I need you to do a job for me, Jake says, leaning back in his chair. At a restaurant, Rose's Kitchen, 428 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard. Okay. What kind of job? Gas line inspection, Jake says smoothly. But I need you to do something specific. I need you to loosen one of the valves. Not much, just enough so there's a slow leak. Something that won't be noticeable right away. There's a long silence on the other end. Then, you serious, dead serious, Jake says. And I'll pay you $5,000 cash. No receipt, no paperwork, just you, me, and the job. Another pause. Longer this time. If there's a gas leak and someone's inside. That's the point, Jake interrupts his voice, cold calm like he's ordering takeout. I need you to do this on the night of October 28th around 8:00 p.m. I'll make sure she's there alone in the kitchen after closing. My blood turns to ice. She, Rick says. Who's she? My wife, Jake says. And I need to make sure she doesn't walk out. I hit pause. My hands are shaking so badly I nearly drop the laptop. I rewind 10 seconds. Play it again. I need to make sure she doesn't walk out. I play it a third time, a fourth. Each time the words hit me like a fist to the chest. Jake isn't just planning to steal Rose's kitchen. He's planning to kill me. He's hiring someone to rig a gas leak to blow up the restaurant with me inside. I press play again, forcing myself to keep watching. On screen, Rick's voice comes back quieter, now uncertain. Man, I don't know. That's really dangerous. If someone dies, no one's going to trace it back to you, Jake says, cutting him off. It'll look like an accident. Old building, faulty gas line, tragic explosion. The fire marshal will rule it accidental. My wife will be gone. I'll inherit the restaurant as her widower, and I'll sell it the next day. Clean. Simple, end quote. And you'll have $5,000 in your pocket. I need to think about it, Rick says finally. You've got until March 15th, Jake says. After that, the offer's off the table. Call me. Call me, the line goes dead. Jake sets his phone down, stretches, and goes back to typing on his laptop like he didn't just hire someone to murder me. I close the laptop and sit there in the dark, staring at nothing. October 28th. That's 8 months from now. 8 months Jake has been planning this. 8 months he's been living with me, kissing me, pretending to love me, all while plotting my death. I think I'm going to be sick. I get up, stumble to the bathroom, and splash cold water on my face. When I look in the mirror, the woman staring back at me looks like a stranger. Pale, hollow-eyed, terrified, but underneath the fear, there's something else. Anger. White, hot, burning anger. Jake poisoned me for 3 months. He forged my signature. He conspired with Marcus Brennan to steal my grandmother's restaurant. He slept with my sister, and now he's trying to kill me. He wants me dead, gone, erased, so he can take everything I have and start over with Maya. I grip the edge of the sink, breathing hard. No, I'm not going to let him. I go back to the bedroom, open my laptop, and export the video file. I save 3 copies, one to my phone, one to a USB drive. I hide in my purse, one to a private email account Jake doesn't know about. Then I open my messages and text Sarah. I have something. Can you meet tomorrow morning? It's urgent. She replies 30 seconds later. 7 a.m. My office. What is it? I hesitate, then type. Jake hired someone to kill me. I have it on video. 3 dots appear. Then Jesus Christ, Zoe. Are you safe right now? Yes, he's asleep. I'm fine. Lock your bedroom door. Don't let him in. And I'll see you at 7. I lock the door. Then I sit back down on the bed, laptop open, and watch the video one more time. October 28th. Jake chose the date. He chose the method. He chose the place. But he made one critical mistake. He didn't know I was watching. He didn't know I was recording. And now I have proof. Direct, undeniable, prosecutable proof that Jake Carson tried to hire someone to murder me. Tomorrow I'll give it to Sarah and then we'll stop him. But tonight I sit here in the dark listening to my husband breathe in the next room and I realize something. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm ready. October 28th is 8 months away. But Jake doesn't know that I already know. And by the time he realizes, it'll be too late. It's Tuesday afternoon, March 5th, just past 4:00, when I walk into the office of Anderson Investigations on Southwest Morrison Street in downtown Portland. The place smells like old coffee and cigarette smoke, even though there's a no smoking sign on the wall. A man in his 50s gray hair buzzed short sits behind a cluttered desk covered in manila folders and empty styrofoam cups. He looks up when I walk in. Zoe Martinez, that's me. Tom Anderson. He stands, shakes my hand with a firm grip. Have a seat. I sit in the chair across from his desk, my purse clutched in my lap. I hired Tom 5 days ago, right after I showed Sarah the video of Jake hiring Rick Donovan to kill me. Sarah opened an official investigation, filed for a warrant, and told me to lie low. But I couldn't just sit around waiting. I needed to know more. I needed to understand why Jake was doing this, and I needed to know how deep Maya's involvement went. So I hired Tom. I asked him to follow Jake and Maya to document everything to find out what they were planning. Now Tom slides a thick folder across the desk toward me. Preliminary report, he says. I've been tailing them for 5 days. They're not subtle. I open the folder. The first page is a typed summary. The second page is photographs. Lots of them. Jake and Maya entering the Marriott Downtown Hotel on Southwest 6th Avenue. Jake and Maya sitting at a corner table at Clyde Common, holding hands. Jake and Maya kissing in the parking lot of a Fred Meyer grocery store. My stomach twists, but I keep reading. They meet 3 times a week, Tom says, leaning back in his chair. Always at the Marriott. Always between 2 and 5:00 p.m. When you're working at the restaurant. They check in under a fake name, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. Jake pays cash. I nod slowly, flipping through the photos. What else? Your sister's seeing a fertility specialist, Tom says. Portland Fertility Center on Northeast Gleason. I followed her there twice last week. She has standing appointments every Tuesday and Thursday at 1000 a.m. I look up. Fertility specialist. Yeah, she's trying to get pregnant. Tom pulls out another photo. Maya walking out of the clinic, a folder tucked under her arm. From what I could see, she's been going since January. Looks like she's serious about starting a family. My chest tightens. Maya wants a baby with Jake, my husband. Does she know he's married? I ask quietly. Tom shrugs. Hard to say for sure, but based on their behavior, I'd guess yes. They act like a couple planning a future together. Long-term stuff. She talks about opening a restaurant called Maya's Table. He talks about moving to Seattle. They're not hiding it from each other, just from you. I close my eyes, breathing slowly. What about this? Tom slides another photo across the desk. It's a shot of Jake and Maya sitting at a coffee shop, Powell's City of Books Cafe. Jake is holding a piece of paper, showing it to Maya. She's reading it, smiling. Took that yesterday, Tom says. Couldn't get close enough to see what it was, but it looked official. Medical documents, maybe. I stare at the photo. Medical documents. A thought occurs to me. Can I see that again? Tom hands me the photo. I zoom in on my phone camera, enlarging the image. The paper in Jake's hand has a logo at the top, Oregon Wellness Clinic, and underneath in small print, Patient Jake Carson. Diagnosis: low sperm count due to prior injury. Treatment: testosterone therapy to improve sperm quality. Estimated completion: December 2024. My heart stops. What is it? Tom asks. I need to make a call, I say, pulling out my phone. I dial Sarah. She answers on the second ring. Zoe, everything okay? I need you to check something for me, I say. Jake's medical records. Specifically, I need to know if he's ever had a vasectomy. There's a pause. Why? Because I think he's lying to Maya. He gave her fake medical documents saying he's being treated for low sperm count. But I need to know the truth. Hang on, Sarah says. I hear typing in the background. Since we opened the criminal investigation last week, I have a warrant to access his records. Give me a minute. I wait, my heart pounding. Tom watches me curious but silent. Okay, Sarah says finally. I'm looking at his file now. Jake Michael Carson, date of birth April 12th, 1988, and... Jesus, Zoe. What, he had a vasectomy, Sarah says slowly. August 15th, 2019, at Oregon Health and Science University. It's right here in his file. Permanent sterilization procedure. No reversals on record. 2019. 3 years before he married me. He's been lying to me this entire time. Sarah, I say, my voice shaking. He told me he wasn't ready to have kids yet. He said we'd talk about it in a few years. He lied, Sarah says quietly. And if he gave your sister fake medical records saying he's being treated for fertility issues, he's lying to her too, I finish. I hang up, my hands trembling. Tom is still watching me. Bad news, he had a vasectomy, I say. 5 years ago. And he's been lying to both of us. I pull out my laptop and log into the cloud account where I've been saving all the evidence. I search through the messages I copied from Jake's phone 2 weeks ago before he changed his password. And there it is. A text from Jake to Marcus Brennan dated February 25th. Keep them hoping, bro. Hope is the best drug. As long as Zoe thinks I'll give her kids someday, she won't leave. And as long as Maya thinks she's getting pregnant, she'll do whatever I ask. Easy. I read it twice. 3 times. My vision blurs with tears. Jake doesn't love me. He doesn't love Maya. He doesn't love anyone. He's been using both of us, stringing us along with promises he never intended to keep, poisoning me so I'd be too weak to fight when he stole Rose's kitchen, lying to Maya about having a future together so she'd help him, and all the while he's been planning to kill me, inherit the restaurant, sell it, and disappear with the money. Maya is a pawn just like me. The difference is, she doesn't know it yet. I close the laptop and look at Tom. Can you keep following them? As long as you're paying, I'll keep watching. Good, I say. I need everything. Photos, recordings, locations, times, everything. You got it. I leave Tom's office with the folder tucked under my arm and a terrible hollow ache in my chest. Jake doesn't love anyone. He only loves money and power and control. And Maya, my own sister, the girl I used to read bedtime stories to, the one who used to braid my hair, is just another pawn in his game. Part of me wants to warn her, to tell her she's being used. But another part of me, the part that remembers her kissing my husband, laughing about Maya's table, texting him about having his baby, that part thinks she deserves to find out the hard way. Jake lied to both of us, but only one of us knows the truth now. And I'm going to use that. It's been 7.5 months since I found the video of Jake hiring Rick Donovan to kill me. 7 months since I sat in Detective Sarah Morgan's office and showed her the footage of my husband planning to blow up Rose's kitchen with me inside. 7 months of planning, waiting, gathering evidence, and preparing for this moment. After I gave Sarah the video back in March, we made a plan. A long one. Sarah wanted to arrest Jake immediately, but I convinced her to wait. If we arrested him too soon, he'd get a good lawyer claim he never intended to go through with it. Say it was just talk. But if we waited, if we let him think his plan was working, if we caught him at the scene expecting me to die, we'd have him cold. Conspiracy, attempted murder, no wiggle room. So we waited. Sarah opened an official investigation. She got warrants. She tracked Rick Donovan, interviewed him secretly. Rick confessed everything. Jake paid him $5,000 cash to loosen the gas valve at Rose's kitchen. Rick was supposed to do it 3 days before October 28th, then disappear. Jake would make sure I was alone in the kitchen that night. The gas would leak. I'd light the stove. Boom. Accidental explosion. Tragic widow inherits restaurant. Sells it. Walks away clean. Except I know. And now, 3 days before October 28th, it's time to make sure the plan doesn't work. It's Friday afternoon, October 25th, just past 2:00, and I'm standing in the kitchen of Rose's kitchen with my phone pressed to my ear. Oregon Natural Gas Customer Service. This is Brenda speaking. How can I help you today? Hi, I say, keeping my voice calm. I'm calling from Rose's kitchen on Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard. I think we might have a gas leak. I've been smelling gas near the stove for the last 2 days. Okay, ma'am. We take that very seriously. I'm going to send a technician out right away. Can you confirm the address 428 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard, Portland? Perfect. Someone will be there within the hour. In the meantime, please don't use any open flames. And if the smell gets stronger, evacuate immediately. Thank you. I hang up and wait. 50 minutes later, a white van with the Oregon Natural Gas logo pulls up outside. A man in a blue jumpsuit and hard hat steps out carrying a toolbox and a handheld gas detector. I meet him at the door. Hi, I'm the one who called. Zoe Martinez. I'm the owner. Eddie Parker, he says, shaking my hand. Let's take a look. I lead him into the kitchen. He pulls out his gas detector and starts scanning around the stove, the pipes, the connections. After a minute, he frowns. Ma'am, you were right to call. This valve here, he points to a brass fitting near the main gas line behind the stove. It's been loosened. Not enough to cause an immediate leak, but if you'd turned on the stove at full heat for a while, it would have started leaking fast. Could have caused an explosion. My stomach twists, but I keep my face neutral. Can you fix it? Yeah, absolutely. I'll tighten it down right now. Check the whole system. Make sure everything's secure. He works for 20 minutes, tightening bolts, checking connections, running the gas detector over every inch of the line. Finally, he straightens up. Okay, you're good. Everything's tight. No leaks. But I gotta ask, do you know how that valve got loosened? It doesn't just happen on its own. I swallow. I don't know. Maybe someone bumped it. He gives me a skeptical look but doesn't push. All right, well, it's fixed now. I'll file a report with the company. Actually, I say quickly, pulling 5 $100 bills out of my purse. Can you do me a favor? My husband, he's really anxious about stuff like this. If he finds out I called the gas company, he's going to think I'm being paranoid and it'll just cause a huge fight. Could you maybe not file the report just between us? Consider this a tip for coming out so fast. Eddie looks at the cash, then at me. Ma'am, I'm supposed to file every service call. I know, I say. But please. It's fixed now. Everything's safe. I just don't want the drama at home. He hesitates, then takes the money and tucks it into his pocket. All right. But if you smell gas again, you call immediately. Okay, I will. Thank you. He leaves. I lock the door behind him and let out a long breath. Step 1, done. The valve is fixed. But Jake doesn't know that, and Rick doesn't know that. They think the bomb is still armed. But I need insurance. I need to be able to control the gas line myself just in case something goes wrong. So I make another call. Walsh Gas Consulting. This is David. Hi, David. My name is Zoe Martinez. I need someone to install a remote shutoff valve on a commercial gas line. Today, if possible. Money's not an issue. Today's tight, but I can squeeze you in around 600 P10M. What's the address? At 600 sharp, David Walsh pulls up in an unmarked truck. He's in his 50s, gray-haired, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. Retired gas engineer. Sarah recommended him. Discreet professional. I let him in through the back door. Show me the line, he says. I take him to the kitchen. He examines the main gas shutoff valve, the connections, the pipes. You want a remote valve installed here? Yes. Something I can control from my phone so I can shut off the gas from anywhere. He raises an eyebrow. You in some kind of trouble. Let's just say I need to be able to control my own building. He nods slowly. Fair enough. I can install a smart valve with a cellular connection. You'll be able to shut it off from an app on your phone. Takes about 2 hours. $1.200. Done. David works quietly, efficiently. He installs a compact motorized valve behind the stove, connects it to a small control box mounted on the wall, and syncs it to an app on my phone. When he's finished, he hands me his phone. Here, download this app, GasSafe Pro. I've already linked your valve to it. See that button? I look at the screen. A red button labeled Emergency Shutoff. If you press that, the valve closes instantly. No gas gets through. Your stove won't light. Your oven won't work. Everything stops. And if I want to turn it back on, press the green button. But I'd recommend doing it manually at the valve for safety. Perfect. I hand him $1.200 cash from the trust fund. He pockets it, nods, and leaves without another word. I stand alone in the kitchen, my phone in my hand, staring at the app. One button. That's all it takes. I test it. I press the red button. The valve clicks shut. I press the green button. It clicks open. I do it 3 more times just to be sure. It works. I buy a handheld gas detector online. 2-day shipping arrives Sunday, and tuck my phone back into my pocket. The kitchen is safe. The valve is under my control. And Jake has no idea. I walk to the front window and look out at the street. The sun is setting, casting long orange shadows across the pavement. In 3 days, Jake will walk through that door expecting me to die. Expecting the restaurant to explode. Expecting to inherit everything and walk away clean. But he's wrong. October 28th won't be the day I die. It'll be the day Jake Carson gets caught. And I'll be the one holding the match. It's Sunday evening, October 27th, 7:30, and I'm sitting alone in the back office of Rose's kitchen, with my phone in my hand and a knot in my stomach. Tomorrow is October 28th. Tomorrow is the day Jake planned to kill me. Tomorrow is the day everything ends. The restaurant is closed on Sundays, so the dining room is dark and quiet. I can hear the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the faint ticking of the old wall clock Abuela hung up 30 years ago. Outside, the rain is coming down hard, drumming against the windows like 1,000 tiny fists. I open the Text Now app on my phone, the one I downloaded yesterday, the one that gives you a burner number that can't be traced back to you. I've used it before to text Sarah when I needed to stay off Jake's radar. Tonight I'm using it for something else. I'm using it to bait my sister. I stare at the blank message screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. This is it. This is the moment I trick Maya into walking into the trap. Part of me, some small, stupid, sentimental part, wants to call her instead to warn her. To tell her Jake is using her lying to her planning to throw her away the second he doesn't need her anymore. To tell her I know about the vasectomy, the fake medical records, the text messages where Jake laughs about keeping them hoping. But I can't. Because Maya made her choice. She chose Jake. She chose to sleep with my husband. She chose to help him steal Rose's kitchen. And tomorrow night she's going to face the consequences. I take a deep breath and start typing. The message has to sound exactly like Jake. Not too formal, not too careful, just the right mix of confidence and urgency. I've been reading his texts for months. I know how he talks. I type, Babe, Zoe's throwing a last-minute anniversary party tomorrow night, Oct 28, 8 p.m. at Rose's to win me back. She invited my mom and a bunch of our friends to guilt-trip me into staying. It's actually perfect. With all those people there, the accident will look even more real and no one will suspect a thing. Just show up like a normal guest. Be polite to Zoe. And when it happens after everyone leaves around 10 p.m., we'll both have alibis because we were in the middle of a crowd. Don't call me back. Zoe's been watching me like a hawk. Trust me, baby. After tomorrow night, we're free. I love you. I read it 3 times. 4 times. Making sure every word sounds like him. Making sure the logic holds. Making sure Maya will believe it. Then I hit send. The message goes through. Delivered. I set my phone down on the desk and stare at it, my heart pounding. What if she doesn't believe it? What if she calls Jake to check? What if she doesn't show up? I check the time. 7:04 p.m. I wait. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 5 minutes. My phone buzzes. I grab it so fast I almost drop it. A reply from Maya. Okay, babe. I'll be there. After tomorrow, we'll have everything right. I stare at the message and something inside me cracks. After tomorrow, we'll have everything. She really believes it. She really thinks Jake loves her. That he's going to leave me for her. That they're going to open Maya's table together and live happily ever after with the money from selling Rose's kitchen. She has no idea Jake had a vasectomy 5 years ago. She has no idea he's been lying to her about having a baby. She has no idea that the second he gets what he wants, he'll disappear and leave her with nothing. Or worse, he'll blame everything on her. I type back, still pretending to be Jake. We'll have everything, baby. I promise. See you tomorrow. Wear something nice. And remember, act surprised when you walk in. Her reply comes instantly. I will. I love you. I close the app, delete the conversation, clear the cache. Then I sit there in the dark office, staring at nothing, and I feel empty. I don't feel triumphant. I don't feel clever. I just feel sad because tomorrow Maya's going to walk into Rose's kitchen thinking she's about to get everything she's ever wanted, and instead she's going to lose it all. But I can't let that stop me. Not now. Not after everything Jake has done. I stand up, slip my phone into my pocket, and walk to the front window. The rain is still coming down, blurring the lights of the cars passing by on Hawthorne Boulevard. Somewhere out there, Jake is at home, probably texting Maya, probably planning what he's going to say when the police ask him about the tragic accident that killed his wife. Somewhere out there, Maya is smiling, thinking she's won. But tomorrow, they'll both learn the truth. Tomorrow, the trap closes. I turn away from the window, lock the office door behind me, and head home. Everything is ready. The gas is under my control. The evidence is saved in 3 places. Sarah knows the plan. The guests are invited. And Maya just confirmed she'll be there. Tomorrow night, October 28th at 8:00 p.m. Everyone I need will be in one room. And when I'm done, Jake Carson and Maya Martinez will both be in handcuffs. Everything is ready. Tomorrow it all ends. It's Monday morning, October 28th, 6:00 sharp when I wake up in my bedroom and reach for my phone. No alarm. I didn't need one. I haven't slept more than 2 hours. Today is the day. I open the GasSafe Pro app and tap the red button. Emergency shut off. The valve at Rose's kitchen clicks shut 2 miles away. No gas. No explosion. No accident. Jake's plan is dead before it even starts. I get dressed in the dark black jeans, a gray sweater, my grandmother's apron folded in my bag. Then I drive through the empty, rain-slicked streets of Portland to Rose's kitchen, unlock the back door, and step inside. The restaurant is silent, cold. The air smells faintly of cumin and cinnamon, the ghosts of 1,000 meals cooked in this kitchen. I flip on the lights, tie on Abuela's apron, and get to work. Today, I'm not just cooking a meal. I'm building a case. 7 courses. 7 sins. 7 pieces of evidence that will destroy Jake Carson and everything he's tried to take from me. I start with the menu, writing it out by hand on a chalkboard I'll hang in the dining room tonight. Course 1, bitter coffee ipecac poisoning. Course 2, the forged contract, fake signature fraud course. 3, broken promises, vasectomy lies course. 4, the betrayal affair infidelity course. 5, the murder plot gas leak, conspiracy to kill course. 6, ambition, Maya's table greed course. 7, the truth, justice reckoning. I stand back and look at it. It's perfect. Cold surgical, exactly what this needs to be. Then I get to work on the food. Course 1 is easy. I brew a pot of coffee, dark, bitter, strong. I pour a single cup and set it on a tray with a printed copy of the lab report from Providence Medical Lab. Ipecac syrup detected 15 milliliters per 250 milliliters sample. This is what Jake gave me every morning for 3 months. This is how he tried to break me. Course 2 is a deconstructed salad, greens vinegar, sharp cheese, served on a plate with a photocopy of the forged business sale contract underneath the glass. My signature faked. $2.8 million. Marcus Brennan's name at the bottom. Course 3 is pan-seared salmon with a lemon reduction. Delicate, beautiful, bitter. I played it next to a printed copy of Jake's vasectomy record from Oregon Health and Science University. Date August Synchesprezeche Doa Minoesprezeche. 3 years before he married me. 5 years before he told Maya he wanted a baby with her. Course 4 is roasted lamb with rosemary and garlic served with a side of printed text messages. Jake and Maya, I love you, babe. After this is over, we'll have everything. Maya's table opens next spring. 18 months of lies plated like an entree. Course 5 is the hardest. I make a dish abuela used to serve at quinceañeras, chile and nogada poblano peppers, stuffed with meat and spices, topped with a white walnut sauce and pomegranate seeds. It's a dish that takes hours, a dish that requires patience, care, love, and I serve it with a printed transcript of the recording from my hidden camera. Jake's voice clear as day. I need you to loosen the valve just enough for a slow leak. I'll make sure she's there alone in the kitchen. Rick Donovan's voice. If someone dies, Jake, no one's going to trace it back to you. Course 6 is a dessert tres leches, cake my grandmother's recipe, the one she taught me when I was 8 years old. I played it with a printed email from Marcus Brennan to Jake. Once the POA is signed, we close on Rose's kitchen wire, the $2.8 million, and you're free to start fresh with M in Seattle. Maya's table opens Q3 2025. Course 7 is just a single piece of dark chocolate on a white plate. No garnish, no explanation. Just the truth, bitter and undeniable. I spend the rest of the morning plating, arranging, photographing each dish so I have backups in case something goes wrong. At noon, Carmen Foster arrives with a van full of equipment, portable electric cooktops, chafing dishes, extra plates. She took half the menu to her restaurant yesterday and finished it there so I wouldn't be overwhelmed. She's the only person besides Sarah who knows what's really happening tonight. You ready for this? She asks, setting a tray of empanadas on the counter. I've been ready since February, I say. She nods, doesn't ask more questions. That's why I love her. By 2:00 p.m., the food is done. I cover everything and store it in the walk-in cooler. Then I move to the dining room. I set up a folding screen at the far end of the room, mount a projector on a tripod plug in my laptop. I test the slideshow I made last week. Crime scene photos, email threads, bank statements, the video of Jake hiring Rick Donovan. Everything I need to bury him. At 3:00 p.m., Sarah Morgan stops by. She's in jeans and a bomber jacket off-duty, but I can see the badge clipped to her belt. You good? She asks. I'm good. Jake still doesn't know. He has no idea. She nods. I'll be here at 7:45. I'll sit in the back, act like a guest. If things go sideways, I'm 2 seconds away. They won't go sideways, I say. She looks at me for a long moment, then squeezes my shoulder. Your grandmother would be proud of you. I don't trust myself to speak, so I just nod. At 5:00 p.m., I start setting the tables. 15, place settings, white linens, candles, name cards. I put Jake at the head of the table, Maya to his right, Marcus Brennan to his left. My spot is at the opposite end, facing him the power position. At 6:00 p.m., I hang the chalkboard menu on the wall. 7 courses, 7 sins. At 6:30, I change into a black dress, pin my hair up, put on the silver earrings. Abuela left me. I look in the mirror and barely recognize myself. I look older, harder, ready. At 7:00 p.m., I light the candles. The dining room glows soft and warm like a painting, like a trap. I stand in the doorway and take it all in. The tables, the projector, the evidence, the food. Everything I need to end this. My phone buzzes. A text from Jake. On my way. See you soon, babe. I don't reply. Another text from Maya. Almost there. Nervous but excited. I smile. A cold, thin smile. She should be nervous. At 7:30, I open a bottle of wine and pour myself a glass. I don't drink it. I just hold it, feeling the weight of it in my hand. Everything is ready. The party is about to start. And Jake doesn't know he's about to become the main course. Before I take you into that dining room on October 28th, the night I serve justice alongside dinner, comment truth below so I know you're ready for this. What happens next will shock you. And a quick note, some details ahead are dramatized for educational impact. If intense confrontation isn't for you, now's the time to step away. The dining room of Rose's kitchen glowed with the soft amber light of 24 candles scattered across the tables, their flames flickering gently in the cool October breeze that slipped through the half-open window near the bar. I stood behind the host stand, dressed in the deep burgundy dress I had chosen specifically for this night. Elegant, confident, the kind of dress a woman wears when she knows exactly what she is about to do. The air smelled of roasted garlic, fresh basil, and the faint sweetness of caramelized onions from the kitchen where I had spent the last 3 hours preparing a 5-course meal that no one here would ever forget. My hands were steady as I smoothed the white linen tablecloth one last time, adjusted the single red rose in the center vase, and checked my phone. It was 7:58 p.m. In 2 minutes, the first guest would arrive and the carefully constructed trap I had spent 8 months building would finally spring shut. At exactly 8:05 p.m., the front door swung open and Jake stepped inside, his broad shoulders filling the doorway, his smile warm and familiar and utterly false. He wore the charcoal gray suit I had bought him for our first anniversary, the one he claimed made him feel invincible. He crossed the room in 3 long strides, pulled me into his arms, and kissed my forehead with the same tenderness he had shown me on our wedding day. "Happy anniversary, sweetheart," he murmured against my hair, his voice low and intimate. I forced myself to smile, to lean into him, to play the role of the adoring wife one last time. "Thank you for being here," I whispered back, my fingers briefly, touching the remote gas shut-off app icon on my phone screen hidden in the pocket of my dress. At 8:10 p.m., Maya walked in, her red hair swept into an elegant updo, her emerald green cocktail dress clinging to her curves in a way that was clearly meant to catch Jake's eye. She paused in the doorway, her gaze sweeping the room with an expression of perfectly calibrated surprise. "Zoe, you invited me," she said, her voice light and airy as though we were old friends who had simply lost touch. "I just thought I'd stop by to say hello." I smiled at her, the kind of smile that held no warmth whatsoever. "Of course I invited you, Maya. You're family, after all." Her eyes flickered toward Jake for the briefest second before she looked away. At 8:15 p.m., Marcus Brennan arrived. His silver hair combed back, his navy blue suit immaculate, his handshake firm and confident as he greeted Jake like an old business partner. "Jake, good to see you," Marcus said smoothly, clapping him on the shoulder. "Zoe, thank you for the invitation. Your grandmother's restaurant has always been legendary in this city." I nodded politely, noting the way Jake's smile tightened just slightly at the corners, the way his eyes followed Marcus to his seat with the wary calculation of a predator assessing a rival. At 8:20 p.m., Linda Carson, Jake's mother, swept through the door, her silver hair styled in soft waves, her lavender blouse and pearl necklace, giving her the air of a woman who had spent decades perfecting the art of gracious dignity. She wrapped me in a warm hug, her perfume something floral and old-fashioned enveloping me. "My dear daughter-in-law," she said, her voice full of genuine affection. "I'm so proud of you both. 2 years already. Time flies when you're happy." I held her a moment longer than necessary, feeling a pang of guilt that she had no idea what her son had done. At 8:25 p.m., Detective Sarah Morgan arrived, dressed in a simple black blazer and jeans, her badge discreetly hidden in her purse. She greeted me with a hug and a knowing look. "Zoe, it's been too long," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm so glad you invited me to celebrate with you." I squeezed her hand briefly, a silent acknowledgement that she was here not as a guest, but as a witness. Over the next 15 minutes, the remaining 10 guests arrived in a steady stream. My Aunt Carmen at 8:28 p.m., still wearing her nurse's scrubs from the evening shift at Providence Hospital. My cousin Mateo and his wife Isabella at 8:32 p.m., their 2-year-old daughter Anna asleep in Isabella's arms. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, the elderly couple who had been regulars at Rose's kitchen for over 20 years, arriving at 8:36 p.m. with a bottle of wine and warm smiles. Father Miguel from Our Lady of Sorrows, who had married Jake and me 2 years ago, arriving at 8:40 p.m. with a blessing and a prayer book tucked under his arm. Jenny, my best friend from culinary school, at 8:43 p.m. her camera slung around her neck because she never went anywhere without it. And finally, Benjamin Hartley, my lawyer, at 8:47 p.m. his presence a quiet promise that every word spoken tonight would be documented and legally binding. By 8:50 p.m., all 15 guests were seated around the long, rectangular table I had set up in the center of the dining room, their faces illuminated by candlelight. Their conversations, a low hum of laughter and small talk that filled the space with a deceptive sense of normalcy. I stood at the head of the table, my wine glass raised, and waited for the room to fall silent. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began, my voice steady and clear. 2 years ago, Jake and I stood before many of you and promised to love and honor each other for the rest of our lives. Tonight, I wanted to celebrate that promise with the people who matter most to us. I paused, letting my gaze sweep across the faces at the table. Jake's confident smile, Maya's carefully neutral expression, Marcus Brennan's polite curiosity, Linda Carson's beaming pride, Sarah Morgan's watchful eyes, and the others, all of them, waiting, all of them, unaware of what was coming. "I've prepared a very special meal for you tonight," I continued, my tone warm and gracious. 5 courses, each one inspired by a memory from my grandmother Rose's recipes. But more than that, I have a story to share with you. A story about trust, about betrayal, and about the lengths people will go to in order to protect what they love. I saw Jake's smile falter for just a fraction of a second, saw the way his hand tightened around his wine glass, and I knew in that moment that he had realized something was wrong. I set my glass down gently, walked to the kitchen door, and gestured to the first course waiting on the counter. A simple dish of heirloom tomato bruschetta drizzled with balsamic reduction and garnished with fresh basil. "The first course will be out in just a moment," I said, turning back to face my guests. And with it, the first chapter of tonight's story. I met Jake's eyes across the table, held his gaze for a long, deliberate second, and smiled. "I think you're all going to find it very enlightening." By 8:55 that evening on October 28, 2024, all 15 guests had settled into their seats at the long candle-lit table in Rose's kitchen, their faces glowing with the warm expectation of celebration. And I stood at the head of the table with a silver tray in my hands, knowing that the next 35 minutes would shatter every illusion in this room. I set a white porcelain cup of coffee directly in front of Jake's, steam curling from its surface, and began. "For 3 months, 90 consecutive days, my husband made me coffee every single morning," I said, my voice steady and deliberate. "He was so loving, so attentive. But what he didn't tell me was that every cup contained 15 milliliters of ipecac syrup, a drug designed to induce violent vomiting." I pulled the folded toxicology report from my pocket and held it up. This is from Providence Medical Lab, dated February 19, 2024. It confirms ipecac poisoning. Jake systematically weakened me so I couldn't fight what came next. Jake's face went pale, his knuckles white as he gripped the edge of the table, but I didn't give him time to speak. I moved to the laptop on the side table and projected the first email onto the wall. "The second truth is about theft," I said, my tone sharp and clear. "This is an email from Marcus Brennan to Jake, dated November 3, 2023. It reads, 'Once you have power of attorney, the transfer will take 90 days. Make sure she's too weak to fight it.'" And here's Jake's response from January 22, 2024. "Ipecac is working. She's losing weight and barely has energy to run the kitchen. By April, we'll have everything." I turned to Marcus, whose face had gone rigid with barely controlled fury. "You offered $2.8 million for my restaurant, Mr. Brennan. You thought I'd never find out." Marcus stood abruptly, but Sarah Morgan stepped forward from her position by the door, her hand resting on her badge. "Sit down," she said quietly. "You're not leaving." I tapped the keyboard again, splitting the screen between 2 medical documents. "The third truth is about the lies Jake told my sister," I said, turning to Maya, whose confusion was written plainly across her face. "On the left is a fertility report from Oregon Wellness Clinic claiming Jake has low sperm count and is undergoing treatment. On the right is his actual medical record from Oregon Health and Science University, dated August 15, 2019, a vasectomy performed 5 years ago." I let the silence stretch for 3 long seconds. "Oregon Wellness Clinic doesn't exist, Maya. Jake fabricated that document to keep you hoping, to keep you under his control. He never intended to give you a baby. He was using you." Maya's face crumpled, tears spilling down her cheeks as she turned to Jake. "Is this true?" she whispered. Jake said nothing, his jaw clenched so tightly I could see the muscle jumping beneath his skin. The fourth truth came in a cascade of photographs, Jake and Maya kissing in the Marriott lobby, holding hands in Pioneer Courthouse Square, embracing outside a wine bar on Northwest 23rd. "These were taken by the private investigator I hired over the past 6 months," I explained. "My sister and my husband carrying on an affair while living in my home." Linda Carson let out a choked sob, her hands flying to her mouth as she stared at the images in horror. "Jacob," she gasped, her voice breaking. "How could you, Jake? finally found his voice low and desperate. Mom, this isn't Zoe is twisting everything. Am I pressed play on the audio file and Jake's voice filled the room through the laptop speakers. I need you to do something for me, Rick. There's a gas line at Rose's kitchen behind the stove. Loosen the valve just enough so it leaks slowly. Not enough to smell right away, but enough that when someone lights the stove. A gruff voice responded, cautious and wary. You're talking about an explosion. Jake's voice came back cold and calculating. I'm talking about an accident. $5,000 cash. October 28th, after 8:00 p.m. The recording ended, and I held up my phone displaying the remote gas shutoff app. The fifth truth is attempted murder, I said. Jake hired Rick Donovan to sabotage this kitchen tonight. He planned for this building to explode at 8:00, killing me and everyone in this room, including his own mother, and making it look like an accident. Linda collapsed forward, sobbing, and Aunt Carmen rushed to support her. Jake shot to his feet, his face red. I didn't mean for anyone else to get hurt, he shouted. It was only supposed to be. He stopped himself, realizing too late what he'd admitted. I pulled up the final piece of evidence, text messages between Jake and Maya from October 1st. The sixth truth is ambition, I said. Jake to Maya. After Zoe is gone, we'll open our own place. Maya's table. Just you and me. Maya to Jake. I can't wait. I love you. Maya buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with sobs. I set my phone down gently on the table. And the seventh truth, I said, my voice dropping to something cold and final, is justice. Sarah Morgan stepped forward, her badge now visible at her belt, her expression professional and unyielding. Jacob Carson, you are under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit fraud, and solicitation of arson, she announced. Marcus Brennan, you are under arrest as an accessory to fraud. She pulled handcuffs from her belt and snapped them onto Jake's wrists as he stood frozen, all the color drained from his face. Detective James Torres entered through the back door and cuffed Marcus with the same efficient precision. You have the right to remain silent, Sarah continued, her voice steady as she recited the Miranda warning. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. I watched Jake being led toward the door at 9:08 p.m. on October 28, 2024. His head bowed, his shoulders slumped in utter defeat, and felt something inside me finally release. Not triumph exactly, but the quiet satisfaction of knowing that justice had been served. Maya remained collapsed at the table, sobbing into her hands, and Linda Carson reached for mine, her eyes red and swollen. Zoe, I'm so sorry, she whispered. I had no idea. I squeezed her hand gently. I know you didn't, Linda. This was never your fault. As the door closed behind Jake and Marcus at 9:30 p.m., the dining room fell silent, except for Maya's weeping. And I looked around at the faces of my guests, shocked, grieving, but alive. All of them alive. It's over, I said softly. It's finally over. 5 minutes after Jake and Marcus had been handcuffed at 9:30 p.m., Detective Sarah Morgan stood in the center of Rose's kitchen at 9:35 on the evening of October 28, 2024. Her badge gleaming under the candlelight as she addressed the stunned guests who remained seated around the table, their faces pale with shock. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah began, her voice calm and authoritative. What you have witnessed tonight is the culmination of an 8-month investigation into conspiracy, fraud, attempted murder, and poisoning. I need everyone to remain seated while my team secures the scene and collects evidence. She turned to Jake, who stood with his hands cuffed behind his back, his face contorted with rage. Jacob Carson, you are formally charged with the following crimes: attempted murder in the first degree for planning the gas explosion, intended to kill your wife and 14 other individuals, poisoning with intent to cause bodily harm through the systematic administration of ipecac syrup over a 90-day period from November 15, 2023 through February 14, 2024, conspiracy to commit fraud through the falsification of power of attorney documents, and the forged sale contract for Rose's Kitchen valued at $2.8 million. Solicitation of arson and murder for hire through your contact with Rick Donovan on February 27, 2024, offering $5,000 cash for sabotaging the gas line at this location. And identity fraud through the fabrication of medical documents from a non-existent clinic called Oregon Wellness Clinic. Sarah's recitation was methodical, each charge landing like a hammer blow, and Jake's face shifted from fury to something closer to desperation. This is a setup, Jake shouted, his voice cracking. Zoe orchestrated all of this. She trapped me. Sarah's expression didn't change. Mr. Carson, we have your voice on a recorded phone call explicitly discussing the gas line sabotage. We have emails between you and Marcus Brennan detailing the timeline of the poisoning and the fraudulent property transfer. We have toxicology reports, forensic handwriting analysis testimony from your wife's lawyer, Benjamin Hartley, and video footage from the hidden camera you didn't know was recording you in your home office on February 27th. She paused, letting the weight of the evidence settle over him. You trapped yourself. She turned next to Marcus, who stood rigid and silent beside Jake, his silver hair disheveled, his expensive suit rumpled. Marcus Brennan, you are charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, accessory to attempted murder, and solicitation of illegal financial transactions through your coordination with Jacob Carson to fraudulently acquire Rose's Kitchen through coercion and forgery. The email chain between you and Mr. Carson, spanning from October 10, 2023 through January 22, 2024, constitutes clear evidence of your intent to profit from a crime against Mrs. Martinez. Maya stood trembling against the far wall, tears streaming down her face, her hands still free but her entire body shaking with fear. Sarah approached her slowly, her tone shifting to something less harsh but no less serious. Maya Martinez, you received a text message on October 27, 2024, at 7:30 p.m., purportedly from Jake, inviting you to this dinner as an alibi for what Jake planned to be a fatal explosion. Is that correct? Maya nodded, her voice barely a whisper. Yes. He told me Zoe was planning a surprise party, and he wanted me here so we could be together afterward. Her voice broke. He said it would look like an accident that no one would know. I thought he just meant the divorce would go through quietly. I didn't know he wanted to kill her. Sarah studied her for a long moment. Did you know about the ipecac poisoning? Maya shook her head violently. No, I swear I didn't. I knew Jake was seeing me, and I knew he wanted to leave Zoe, but I never thought he would hurt her like that. Sarah pulled a small digital recorder from her pocket. Maya, I'm going to offer you a deal. If you cooperate fully with the Portland Police Department and the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office, if you testify against Jake Carson and Marcus Brennan in their trials, and if you provide any additional evidence or testimony you possess regarding their plans, we will reduce your charges from conspiracy to accessory after the fact, which carries a significantly lighter sentence. Do you understand? Maya looked at me, her green eyes red and swollen. Zoe, please, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I was so stupid. I thought he loved me. I stood silent, my arms crossed, my expression unreadable. I had nothing to say to her. Detective James Torres entered through the back door at 9:02 p.m., accompanied by 2 forensic technicians carrying black equipment cases. Sarah, we're ready to process the scene, he said. Sarah nodded and gestured to the laptop on the side table. Bag the laptop, the coffee cup in front of Mr. Carson, the phone belonging to Mrs. Martinez that contains the remote gas shutoff app and the printed documents she displayed during her presentation. I also want the gas valve behind the stove photographed and removed for evidence. David Walsh, the engineer who installed the remote shutoff system, has already provided his signed statement confirming the original sabotage by Rick Donovan. One technician immediately began photographing the table, the laptop, and the gas valve area, while the other carefully placed each item into labeled evidence bags. Torres approached Jake and pulled a small card from his pocket. Mr. Carson, you have the right to remain silent and refuse to answer questions. Anything you say may be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to consult an attorney before speaking to the police, and to have an attorney present during questioning now or in the future. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions now without an attorney present, you will still have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to an attorney. Knowing and understanding your rights, as I have explained them to you, are you willing to answer my questions without an attorney present? Jake stared at him. His jaw clenched and said nothing. At 9:50 p.m., Sarah and Torres led Jake and Marcus toward the front door, their movements deliberate and professional. Maya followed behind, still crying, her hands now cuffed in front of her. At her own request, she had agreed to cooperate and signed the preliminary statement acknowledging her willingness to testify. As they reached the threshold, Jake turned back one last time, his eyes finding mine across the dining room. You'll regret this, Zoe, he said, his voice low and venomous. You think you've won, but you've destroyed everything. I met his gaze without flinching. No, Jake, I said quietly. You destroyed everything. I just made sure you paid for it. The door closed behind them at 9:53 p.m., and the sudden silence in Rose's kitchen felt almost sacred. Linda Carson sat at the table, weeping softly into Aunt Carmen's shoulder. Father Miguel murmured a quiet prayer. Benjamin Hartley stood beside me, his hand resting briefly on my shoulder. "You did the right thing, Zoe," he said. I nodded, unable to speak, and for the first time in 8 months, I felt the crushing weight that had been pressing on my chest begin to lift. On December 18, 2024, exactly 7 weeks and 3 days after the night, Jake was led out of Rose's kitchen in handcuffs. I sat in the front row of courtroom 412 at the Multnomah County Courthouse in downtown Portland. My hands folded in my lap, my black wool coat buttoned against. The winter chill that seeped through the old building's walls, and watched as Judge Margaret Whitmore entered through the door behind the bench, her black robe sweeping behind her, her expression grave and impassive. The trial had lasted 3 weeks, beginning on November 27th with jury selection and concluding on December 16th with closing arguments. And now the moment I had been waiting for, the sentencing, had finally arrived. The courtroom was nearly full. Reporters from the Oregonian and Portland Tribune sat in the back rows, their notebooks open. Benjamin Hartley sat beside me, his briefcase resting against his chair. Detective Sarah Morgan sat 2 rows behind us with Detective James Torres and Linda Carson. Jake's mother was noticeably absent, having publicly disowned her son in a written statement released to the press on November 30th. Judge Whitmore settled into her seat, adjusted her reading glasses, and looked down at the 3 defendants seated at separate tables with their court-appointed attorneys. The court will now pronounce sentencing in the cases of the State of Oregon versus Jacob Michael Carson, the State of Oregon versus Marcus James Brennan, and the State of Oregon versus Maya Elena Martinez. She began, her voice clear and commanding. "Mr. Carson, please rise." Jake stood slowly, his orange jumpsuit, a stark contrast to the expensive suits he used to wear, his face gaunt and pale from 2 months in the Multnomah County Detention Center. Judge Whitmore read from the document in front of her. "Jacob Michael Carson, you have been found guilty by a jury of your peers on the following charges: attempted murder in the 1st degree, aggravated assault through poisoning, with intent to cause, serious bodily harm, conspiracy to commit fraud, solicitation of arson, and identity fraud." The evidence presented at trial, including recorded phone conversations, email correspondence, toxicology reports, forensic analysis of forged documents, and testimony from multiple witnesses, including your co-defendant Maya Martinez, has demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that you engaged in a calculated months-long campaign to poison your wife, steal her business, and ultimately kill her in a staged explosion that would have claimed the lives of 14 additional innocent victims. She paused, letting the weight of those words settle over the silent courtroom. "The court finds your actions to be among the most egregious examples of domestic violence, financial exploitation, and reckless endangerment this jurisdiction has seen in recent years. You are hereby sentenced to 12 years in the Oregon State Penitentiary without the possibility of parole for the first 8 years, followed by 5 years of supervised probation upon release. Additionally, you are ordered to pay $500,000 in restitution to Mrs. Zoe Martinez from the liquidation of your personal assets, including your vehicle investment accounts and any remaining property held in your name. All joint ownership claims to Rose's Kitchen are hereby terminated, and full ownership is restored to Mrs. Martinez." Jake's attorney began to speak something about filing an appeal, but Jake himself said nothing. His shoulders slumped in defeat as the bailiff stepped forward to escort him back to his seat. Judge Whitmore turned next to Marcus. "Mr. Brennan, please rise." Marcus stood, his silver hair neatly combed, despite his circumstances, his expression carefully neutral. "Marcus James Brennan, you have been found guilty of conspiracy to commit fraud and acting as an accessory to attempted murder, through your coordination with Jacob Carson, to fraudulently acquire Rose's Kitchen through coercion forgery and exploitation of Mrs. Martinez's compromised physical and mental state caused by systematic poisoning. Your email correspondence with Mr. Carson, spanning from October 2023 through January 2024, demonstrates clear knowledge of and participation in this criminal enterprise. You are hereby sentenced to 8 years in the Oregon State Penitentiary, followed by 3 years of supervised probation. Additionally, you are permanently barred from holding any executive or ownership position in the restaurant or hospitality industry in the state of Oregon for a period of 15 years following your release. Cascade Dining Group has already terminated your employment and severed all business relationships with you, and the court notes that the company has cooperated fully with this investigation. Finally, Judge Whitmore's gaze moved to Maya, who sat with her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her red hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. "Miss Martinez, please rise." Maya stood shakily, her public defender placing a steadying hand on her elbow. "Maya Elena Martinez, you have pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact and obstruction of justice. The court acknowledges that you cooperated fully with law enforcement, beginning on the night of October 28th, that you provided critical testimony against both Mr. Carson and Mr. Brennan during trial, and that credible evidence suggests you were unaware of the full extent of Mr. Carson's murderous intent. However, your participation in an extramarital affair with your sister's husband, your acceptance of financial benefits derived from fraudulent activities, and your initial willingness to serve as an alibi for what you believed would be a convenient accident demonstrate poor judgment and moral culpability. You are hereby sentenced to 2 years of supervised probation, 400 hours of community service to be completed within the first 12 months, and mandatory psychological counseling twice monthly for the duration of your probation. You are also prohibited from contacting Mrs. Zoe Martinez directly or indirectly, without her express written consent. Maya nodded, tears streaming down her face, and whispered, "Thank you, Your Honor." After the judge's gavel fell, and the courtroom began to empty, I remained seated for a long moment, staring at the empty bench, feeling strangely hollow despite the victory. Sarah approached and sat down beside me. "Zoe, you did it," she said gently. "Justice was served. You can move forward now." I nodded slowly. "I know, but it doesn't feel the way I thought it would." She squeezed my shoulder. "It never does. But you survived. That's what matters." Benjamin handed me a sealed envelope as we stood to leave. "This came for you yesterday," he said. From Maya. I opened it later that evening in the quiet of my apartment and read her handwritten note. "Zoe, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I was foolish and selfish and blind. I will live with what I've done for the rest of my life. I'm sorry." I folded the letter carefully and set it aside, but I didn't write back. Jake lost his freedom. Marcus lost his career. Maya lost her family. And I had my restaurant back, my safety restored, my justice delivered. But I had also lost the sister. I thought I knew the marriage I believed in and the innocence of trusting that the people you love would never destroy you. The sun rose over the Pacific at 6:15 a.m. on May 15, 2025, casting golden light across the wet sand at Cannon Beach as I walked barefoot toward Haystack Rock Abuela Rosa's old cookbook, pressed against my chest. The leather cover was worn smooth from decades of use, the pages stained with flour and spices, and the fingerprints of the woman who taught me that cooking was never just about food. It was about survival, about pouring love into something even when the world tried to take everything away. I had woken at 4:30 that Sunday morning, with an overwhelming need to return to this place, 90 minutes west of Portland, where Rosa used to bring me as a child whenever I was sad or scared. "Mi nieta," she would say, her hand warm in mine as we watched the waves. "The ocean washes everything clean. No matter how much it hurts, the waves keep coming, and life keeps moving forward." 6 months had passed since Judge Whitmore sentenced Jake to 12 years in prison, Marcus Brennan to 8, and gave Maya 2 years of probation in exchange for her testimony. 6 months since I had walked out of that courtroom feeling hollow despite the victory, uncertain whether justice was enough to fill the places where trust used to live. But I had done what Rosa taught me to do. I had rebuilt. The $850,000 from her trust fund and the $500,000 in restitution from Jake had given me more than money. They had given me the power to transform everything Jake tried to destroy. I paid off every debt on Rosa's kitchen, including the predatory loans Marcus had encouraged Jake to pressure me into signing. I hired contractors to renovate the dining room with warm terracotta walls, expand the seating from 25 to 40 guests, install a state-of-the-art kitchen to replace the one Jake sabotaged, and commission a mural of Rosa. On the back wall, her hands covered in flour, her smile radiant and eternal. But the renovation I was most proud of wasn't physical. In February, I established the Rosa Heritage Fund, a nonprofit providing grants of up to $20,000 to women escaping domestic violence or financial abuse who wanted to start businesses in food and hospitality. The fund included free legal consultation, business mentorship, and access to a network of female entrepreneurs across Oregon. We awarded our first 3 scholarships in March to women who dreamed of opening bakeries, catering companies, and food trucks. And watching them speak at the Portland Women's Business Center about their hopes for the future made me cry harder than I had in months. Not from grief, but from something that felt like healing. Rose's Kitchen reopened on April 8th, with a menu combining abuela's recipes with new dishes I had created during the winter. My Aunt Carmen became my business partner, investing her savings and her nursing experience into building a restaurant culture that valued staff well-being as much as food quality. By late April, Portland Monthly had featured us, and the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association nominated us for Best Family Restaurant of 2025. Yet despite the success, the full dining room, the glowing reviews, the scholarship recipients sending thank you cards, there remained a hollow place inside me that hadn't healed. 1 week ago, on May 8th, I was closing at 9:00 p.m. when I saw Maya standing across the street, her red hair pulled back, her hands deep in her jacket pockets. She didn't try to come inside. She just stood there for 10 minutes, staring at the lit windows, at the customers, laughing at Rosa's mural, then turned and walked away. The next morning, white roses appeared on the doorstep with a note. "Zoe, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know I'm sorry every single day." I put the flowers in my apartment and read the note a dozen times but didn't respond. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. Some betrayals cut too deep to simply forgive, even when you understood the person who hurt you was also someone else's victim. Standing on the beach with waves crashing at my feet, my phone buzzed. An email from an Elena Ramirez. I opened it, squinting against the morning light. "Dear Miss Martinez, my name is Elena Ramirez, and I'm 29 years old. 2 months ago, I left a violent marriage with nothing but my 7-year-old daughter and the clothes we were wearing. I've been staying at a women's shelter in Portland, and a counselor told me about the Rosa Heritage Fund. I've always dreamed of working in a restaurant, learning to cook professionally. I saw on your website you're hiring kitchen staff. I know I don't have much experience, but I'm a hard worker and promise I won't let you down. Would you give me a chance?" I read it twice, feeling something warm and bright shift in my chest. I typed back, "Dear Elena, I would be honored to meet you. Come to Rose's Kitchen Monday at 10 a.m. We'll start together." I hit send and looked back at Haystack Rock, at the waves that had been crashing against its base for thousands of years but somehow never wore it down. I thought about Jake locked in his cell at Oregon State Penitentiary, about Marcus stripped of everything he built, about Maya living alone with her guilt. I thought about the restaurant almost stolen from me, the life I almost lost, the trust weaponized against me. Then I thought about Elena, the 3 scholarship recipients, Aunt Carmen, the customers who returned week after week, not just for food, but for the warmth and safety they felt inside Rosa's walls. I opened the cookbook to the first page where Rosa had written in careful cursive, "Never let anyone steal your dreams." I traced the words with my finger and heard her voice. "The waves keep coming, my granddaughter, and life keeps moving forward." I didn't know what the future held. I hadn't forgiven Maya, and maybe I never would. But I had forgiven myself for trusting the wrong person, for not seeing the betrayal sooner, for believing love was supposed to protect me when sometimes love was the thing that hurt most. Rose's Kitchen wasn't just a restaurant anymore. It was a sanctuary, proof that women like me, like Elena, like the scholarship recipients, could survive anything and still build something beautiful. As long as I lived, I would protect my grandmother's legacy. Not just through her recipes, but through the hope we offered to every woman who walked through our doors looking for a second chance. The sun climbed higher over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, and I felt something I hadn't felt in over a year. Peace. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose. I tucked the cookbook under my arm and walked back toward my car, ready to drive home to Portland, ready to meet Elena on Monday morning, ready to begin again. And to you listening to this story, remember this. God gave me 3 chances to see the truth before October 28th, the toxicology report, the hidden camera recording, and Maya's confession. And each time I chose to act with wisdom, rather than rage. When family betrayal cuts deepest, when the people you love become the ones who hurt you most, remember that God doesn't just give us strength to survive. He gives us clarity to see the path forward. I turned family revenge into justice. Not because I wanted to destroy Jake and Marcus, but because I wanted to protect every woman who might come after me. Don't be like I was in those first 3 months. Blind to the signs, too trusting, too willing to believe that love alone would keep me safe. Family betrayal doesn't announce itself with warning signs written in blood. It whispers in coffee cups and forged signatures and the smile of someone who calls you sweetheart while planning your funeral. When you feel something is wrong, trust that instinct. God speaks through intuition as much as through prayer. And the moment you ignore that voice is the moment you give others permission to harm you. My advice to you, protect your finances, document everything, and never let love make you so vulnerable that you lose yourself. Family revenge may feel satisfying in your fantasies, but real justice, the kind that lets you sleep at night, comes from standing in a courtroom and watching the truth do its work. And most importantly, when family betrayal shatters your world, remember that rebuilding isn't about forgetting the pain. It's about transforming it into purpose. Rose's Kitchen now feeds more than just hungry customers. It feeds hope. And that, I believe, is what God intended all along. If this story moved you, please leave a comment sharing your thoughts on betrayal and how you've overcome it. Subscribe to this channel for more true stories of resilience and redemption, and share this video with someone who needs to hear that survival is possible. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end. Your time and attention mean everything. And a final warning, the stories that follow contain fictionalized elements created for educational purposes. If you prefer different content, feel free to explore other videos that better suit your interests. Stay safe, stay strong, and remember, you are never as alone as betrayal makes you feel.